Today we're gonna try Dr. Pepper baked beans, which is a really interesting concept. I'm gonna turn the light back up. This light, it ruins the shots, but I gotta have it on. Dr. Pepper baked beans. Now these have been around for a couple years. I can't claim that this is really new. I've seen them before on the shelves. I just never really had the guts to buy them. But coming off of the Dr. Pepper shake from Whataburger, I thought, why not try the Dr. Pepper beans finally from Serious Bean Company, who I've never heard of. With its blend of 23 flavors, Dr. Pepper has been a secret ingredient among top barbecue pitmasters. Now, I have heard of that because I've watched some barbecue competition shows, and I have seen the Dr. Pepper get in there sometimes. So that's a real thing. The 23 original flavors of Dr. Pepper give this batch its name and its amazing flavor, sweet and sassy success. So hopefully this is really good. They do have a lot of interesting on here. Not interesting. They do have a lot of writing on here about their product. No preservatives, seriously delicious, always original, always bold. We don't do boring. We create each of our unique flavors with the highest quality, most flavorful ingredients from the best beans from America's heartland. We're serious about our love for beans. Yeah, I'm interested. Sometimes you just need a good baked bean. If you're making some kielbasas or some sausages or something, and you just want a nice baked bean on the side. Usually I'll go with Bush's, classic baked beans, but, why not try Dr. Pepper? They do have directions, which seems like not really necessary for a can of baked beans, but open can, step one. So remember to open it first. Then you can pour the beans into a saucepan or a microwave safe container. Interesting. Heat to desired temperature. That's step three. So whatever temperature you want, you can heat it up to. And then four, share or don't and savor. So those are the instructions that anybody would know from seeing a can of beans. You pour it out and you heat it up, either in the microwave or in a saucepan. I'm gonna go with saucepan because it feels more, I don't know, it feels more real when you put it in a saucepan. I feel like stupid microwaving baked beans. I'm gonna put these in a saucepan and heat them up, and then I'm going to share or don't. I'm actually not going to share because there's no one else here to share it with. So I'm going to savor these beans after I heat them up and tell you all about it. So let's do it. Well, here's my beans in this nice bowl. It kind of looks a little empty. I'm trying to kind of show you without spilling all over myself. That's the best I can do. Let me get a little spoonful. I can definitely show you that way. They look like beans. Nothing really surprising there. There's not really much to them in the way they look, but in the way they smell, that's kind of interesting because they actually have a soda-y smell to them, which is really something special. Otherwise, they just look like beans in a sauce, like any other can of baked beans. The only other thing to note, really, is that as a can of baked beans, it's a pretty small can compared to a Bush's baked beans can. A Bush's baked beans can is usually like double size. So if you have a bigger family, you're probably going to have to get two of these. I think this is probably a two-person can of beans. I don't think you're going to get much more out of it. Maybe three if you spread it out. But it's not the typical size of a big can of baked beans. So let's give it a bite because the smell is very intriguing, but also kind of disgusting at the same time. So I'm curious. Let me blow on it a little bit. Take a bite. This is a weird one. I don't hate it, but I do kind of hate it, honestly. Again, I don't mean that. I don't really hate it. It's fine, but I don't think that this is in any way a better form of baked bean than just regular old brown sugar baked beans. Or even better, I like the oniony baked beans. I like the ones that aren't just pure sweet, that have a little bit to cut it out. That's why I like the onion baked beans and stuff like that. These are way too sweet. They're just overly sweetened, which is a problem, I think, in baked beans. You have to find a balance there between the sweetness and the beaniness. And this just doesn't have it. The sauce is just pure sugar syrup, essentially. And it doesn't really taste like Dr. Pepper. Maybe a little bit, but it more tastes almost like sweet tarts. The sauce, the syrup, whatever you want to call it, is so sugary. It just kind of tastes like generic candy almost on top of the beans, which are fine. They're fine. They're beans. There's nothing bad about them. Otherwise, it's just a can of baked beans. It's really the sauce that makes the difference. And I'm not a fan. I don't really taste Dr. Pepper. Unlike the Dr. Pepper shake, which I think also didn't taste 100% like Dr. Pepper, but it worked well with the other things they had, the vanilla shake, vanilla ice cream, or whatever they were putting in it. This it just does not work as much as you'd want it to. Like it makes sense from a perspective, like a barbecue perspective, as they say on the can. You know, people put Dr. Pepper in their barbecue sauces or their rubs or whatever. That I get. I've seen that happen before. I can understand why you'd want that. You want the sweetness on your barbecue. You want sweetness in baked beans, but you have to have it in proportion. You can't just make it as sweet as possible and put it out and hope that people enjoy it. There has to be a balancing act. That's where all the great foods come from. All the great like pre-made dishes, all the great sodas, all the great candies, everything has a balance. That's the most important thing. And in baked beans, you have to balance the sweet and the savory. And this just does not hit that balance. It's way, way, way too sweet. Again, it's edible. I'll eat the rest of the beans. It's fine, but I don't really see any reason why you would ever get these over even a great value baked beans. Like a can of generic baked beans would serve you better than these Dr. Pepper baked beans. Interesting as a sideshow, interesting as a novelty, but even then, I don't think it's worth buying. Which is a good reason I made this video. So now if you see Dr. Pepper baked beans on the shelf, don't buy it because you already know it's going to be too sweet. So with that, I'm going to give it a 2. I was about to give it a 3 because it's totally fine. I'm going to eat it, but I don't like it. I think it's a bad spin on baked beans, so I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Unfortunate for them. Maybe I'll try. They have other kind of like concoctions, the Serious Bean Company, that I've seen before, that aren't like as eye-catching as Dr. Pepper. You see Dr. Pepper on the shelf, it's more of an eye-catcher than their other stuff. But I'd be willing to try their other stuff. I think that they're sincere in their efforts to make quality bean products, but this is just not it for me. So Dr. Pepper baked beans, 2 out of 5, and I will see you all next time.